Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Zeng This. You got me, Zenger,
and I'm Ellie.
and we got some interesting stuff to talk about this week. A good bit of in the news, and we also got the read this for Batman Court of Owls.
Yes.
So, a few things. One thing being, this is something that got me really excited. So, Jeff Johns posted on his Twitter a image of the Green Lantern symbol with the "In Brightest Day and Blackest Night," which still I don't think it's been completely revealed at what that's hinting at, but apparently the people who are working on the script for the Green Lantern movie have come out and said that it is supposed to be Lethal Weapon in space, and they have implied that it is John Stewart and Hal Jordan will be the main two Green Lanterns, which I don't mind that. John Stewart, a lot of people are used to him because of the cartoon, and I think Hal Jordan needs to be in it, in my opinion. I mean, they need to redeem themselves from what happened with the Ryan Reynolds one, so getting him out there and getting people to understand that this is a completely different Green Lantern is, I think, a big improvement. So, and as for the Lethal Weapon in space, I don't know. What do you think of that?
I think it sounds pretty cool. I love the new show, of course. And I'd be down for that.
They're space cops, and it's just the other movie didn't handle it that way, and the comics kind of do. It just depends. So I think
who's Murtaugh and who's Riggs?
I see. That's what I was saying. I'm like, they both don't follow the rules, but they're not a wild canon. Like if it was Guy Gardner in one of them, then I'd be like, oh, Guy Gardner is obviously going to be the wild one in this thing. But they both at times have a problem with listening to the authority. Hal Jordan more so than John Stewart. Right. So I guess we'll see. I mean, I'm just kind of happy that they're kind of taking this as a buddy cop aspect of it, which, I mean, they're space cops, so why not do it that way?
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
There's been a lot of discussion recently about the Deadpool sequel, mainly Cable, which I'm excited about. I think Cable will be definitely a cool character to have, but here's the thing. I think the other movie, and correct me if I'm wrong, they didn't really do a good job of explaining a lot of people, which I actually enjoyed that. Did they sit there and walk you through who Colossus was? Or Negasonic Teenage Warhead? They really didn't. They just kind of just assumed, hey, you're going to figure out who these people are from context. Enjoy.
And I feel like so many movies nowadays over-explain things.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. Deadpool, out of all of them, I feel, did a good job of explaining him. Mm-hmm. They kind of were like, we assume you know who Colossus is. If you don't know who Negasonic Teenage Warhead is, do you really need to for this? We'll kind of explain as we go. Which, that brings me to this point, is Cable's history is super convoluted. We were discussing this the other day, and I started explaining to you a certain aspect of it, and you were like, you have completely lost me. And I'm like, where? And you said, just restart it, and I lost you again. So what would be really cool, in my opinion, is if Cable comes onto the scene, you get kind of just the briefest amount of he loves guns, he has telekinesis, and is a telepath. And kind of that's it. That's all you really need. You don't need to know all the stuff about him being the son of Cyclops, the son of the clone of Jean Grey, Madeline Pryor, that he's the whole techno-organic virus thing. I feel like that would be too much. The best thing I think I could do is have Deadpool legitimately start to kind of, do his cutaway thing to where he starts to explain to you, and then he goes, oh, actually, you should read New Mutants 87. And that will explain to you the origin or where the first appearance of him. So, and I think that would just be great to not only have a fourth wall break, but at the same time do a fourth wall break that's appropriate to where he doesn't really explain anything. He's just sort of at the same time breaking the fourth wall by acknowledging the comics. So that would make me happy. Right. But like I said, Cable's just such a weird character when it comes to explaining stuff with him that I think they would take way too long to do that. Before we get to, I'm sure everyone's wondering why we haven't talked about Nintendo Switch yet. We'll get there. I've got one more little thing first. With the passing of Carrie Fisher, Disney has come out and said that they are not putting her digitally in as either Princess Leia or General Leia Organa in the movies. And they, if I remember correctly, they did wrap on filming with 8. So that's completely wrapped with the filming that they need to do. I think maybe some ADR lines might not have been done yet, but who knows? I'm kind of happy that Disney's putting that forward, that they're going to honor her by not,
Yeah, it's very classy.
So that's very good on that part. And also, speaking of Star Wars, I hope you guys checked out our first episode of our Star Wars celebration
so
that we're
much
doing
fun.
this year.
Already prepping for the next one.
Yep. But on that note, we did have a few late entries. So we're going to kind of cut away for a second, and we're going to have a quick discussion. We had 2 more entries come in that were a little late, but I'm willing to allow it. We had one from the guys at Rumor Flies, which, by the way, if I remember correctly, they might have a new episode out.
Ooh.
Very shortly. So excited. They're a great group of guys. They helped us out when we got started. So gotta give a shout out and thank them. But they put this to me when I asked them the question. They came to me with, the answer is always machete cut. But Rogue One throws a kink in it. But I guess it's optional since it's not one of the numeric ones attached to it.
Yeah.
So definitely a good answer from Rumor Flies. I mean, we kind of forced Rogue One to be a part of it.
Right.
I mean, do you need it technically? No, but
No.
I think the answer given by the Down the Hall podcast was a great one to how to put that in there, and that was the one I agreed with, where you do the episode 4, then you watch Rogue One as sort of a flashback to it, and then you do the machete method accordingly afterwards. So that's the one I really liked, and of course, once again, thank you to everyone who participated in
It
that.
was so much fun.
Now we have our other one, which comes from Carrie from the Brokebot Mountain podcast. If you guys are a fan of Westworld, definitely check them out. I'll have links to both Rumor Flies them and the Down the Hall podcast down in our description. So if you want to check them out, I'll have the links to their Twitter. But she said, if it were up to me, I would watch 4, 5, 6, 7, and none of the prequels. The story really isn't there. It's convoluted all over the place. The Star Wars I know starts at Rogue One and moves forward. So interesting. I don't want to talk too much. I know we both have started to watch Episode 1 again.
Right.
And
Yes.
I know I'm kind of, we were watching it the other night, and I feel I was being a little bit nitpicky with it at times, but
And that's fine. We have a whole episode to dive into that.
Exactly, but I can see where she's coming from with that convoluted statement. And you might see where I'm going to come from on that next month when we do episode 1. So stay tuned for that. That should be out actually in probably exactly a month.
Yeah.
Not giving an exact date.
Yes.
But mid-month. mid-month.
Yes.
So finally, let's move to
Switch.
yes,
Let's switch it up and talk about Switch.
that's my job to make terrible segues.
Okay. Well, we all know it's March 3rd now.
Yay!
Are you excited? What are we feeling?
I don't know. I like the new Zelda, and that's supposed to be a launch title, correct?
Yes.
So I like that. It looks like a very cool open. It looks like it's more open world, which is a new thing to Zelda. Well, not a new thing, but a new thing that they haven't used in a while. I feel
Right.
kind of since Wind Waker sort of had it. Well, I guess it's just something that would be cool to see, and this one might take place after Wind Waker. I know that one of our listeners, Kat, put in a very good point about the wreckage looking like
Right.
something that might have been flooded, which I didn't even notice, and that was so good. Shout out to Kat there; she commented that to us.
Yeah.
But I really like it. I mean, I really like what I've seen from Zelda so far. As for the other stuff, I mean, Mario Kart, it's kind of. I'm not trying to mean
same old, but
yeah,
excited still because we all love those titles. So.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
you said it better than I would have, because I'm like, I don't want to say that it's the same, but same song and dance, but
Right.
it's not, but it is.
I mean, I guess I'm excited to try it out.
Yes.
But I definitely won't. Like, if you want one on launch, we urge you to reserve it,
Yes.
obviously, because with Nintendo's history,
We are not promoting any particular company with that.
Oh,
we
no,
just
no.
know from experience.
Yeah, you just, if
Trust
you want
us.
it.
reserve it.
Yeah, you're going to want to reserve it as soon as possible. Me, being that I kind of have made a New Year's resolution to kind of go to more cons and do more of that stuff, I'd like to try it out somewhere and play it, and then maybe eventually months down the road after it comes out, I might be interested in it. But kudos to anybody that wants to get it right away. I completely understand their excitement, and that's really cool. I'm really intrigued by the whole hybrid console where you have like the TV mode and the handheld mode.
Well, speaking of getting it, before we get to that, the price point. What do you think of the price point on it?
I mean, $300 is fair if it holds up to what they say it's going to hold up to.
Okay. The other thing
considering you have a console and a handheld kind of in one, I think that's a fair price.
It is. I mean, they've obviously moved on. They obviously took. It seems like Nintendo takes what works and keeps trying to evolve it more and more.
Right.
The Wii U, the gaming pad. Obviously, that was a huge inspiration to this, and it definitely. I mean, they vastly improved it. I just think it looks interesting. I want to see how well it's implemented. That's kind of my only where I kind of tap the brakes a little bit on the hype train.
I think what concerns people is the storage.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't it supposed to have expandable memory to it?
It does,
okay.
Yeah. But some people have an issue with not having it in the system versus like an external type of storage. So I guess it depends on your thought process on that. And I like that it's not region locked.
That is definitely nice as well.
Because, I mean, me being a huge fan of RPGs and that sort of thing, and with all consoles.
If you were to get one.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's games that you want to get that, come out in Japan first or whatever the case may be. So it is nice that if you want that option, you do have it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's supposed to have a pretty good lineup too. I mean, there's a lot of chatter about the games that they have announced for it or that are coming out with it. So I mean, that's definitely, and the third party support is, I think, the biggest.
It's better than it has.
Is the biggest plus for Nintendo. They've always struggled with that in the past. So knowing that they're getting that third party support is, I think, one of the best things that they could have right now.
Yeah.
Going for them. So I mean, we'll probably continue to discuss the Switch more so as the weeks go.
Closer to it coming out.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, Nintendo does a good job of, they make something very interesting to where it's kind of, you want to see how it works too, because it's kind of, I want to see how this is going to be implemented. Right. Before I get really excited about it. Yeah. So we will see what happens with that. So I guess now it's time for us to discuss
the Court of Owls.
And why are we discussing the Court of Owls?
Because we're doing a read this.
And
right. Okay, I see where you're going. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Because recently Gotham TV show, they when they had their mid-season break, they are doing a Court of Owls storyline. So we thought it'd be kind of cool to discuss that right now, since it's kind of relevant with currently what
is going on in the show.
Exactly.
So, and also, Scott Steiner and Greg Capullo did an amazing job on this. It is great. It is an amazing storyline, kicked off an amazing run, which I'd love to talk more about the run, but we're only going to focus on the first volume. And then a little bit of the second, because it has the Night of the Owls, or the Night of Owls, the conclusion to it. And we just felt when we were reading it that volume 1 we could have done, but the way it ends, it just kind of leads into the next event. So we figured, why not? So I guess we're going to do a quick little kind of review, or we're not going to discuss too in depth for anyone who that
wants to read it, that just hasn't had a chance yet to.
Bingo. Yes. So we're going to do that real quick. Once that is done, I would recommend for people to go out and read. Spoiler. Yeah, well, we'll recommend for people to go out and read it if they don't want anything spoiled, and tune in. Probably we will have, I say the final 4 minutes would be safe. The final 4 minutes will be us wrapping up and discussing a few other things that will not be spoiler. Yeah. So with that, let's get into if you're a Batman fan and you haven't read this yet, I don't know what to tell you aside from go out and read it right now.
Yeah, it is really good.
It is a great story.
And it's a great jump off for anybody that maybe wants to just start with this. They don't have to have known.
Yes, this was after the Flashpoint event, part of the New 52, and it's not an origin story. It just picks up sort of, because there was a whole ambiguous thing about where time was or what stories were taking place when. This one kind of picks up as if, Batman's obviously Batman at this point. He has been Batman for a while now, so it also is very welcoming to new readers, because it had to be.
They kind of, they have Robin and Nightwing, and they have a lot of other people.
Robin.
The family has been established. The Batman family has been established.
Yes, and it gives you a nice little, it lets you know who you need to know about, basically, for that story. And then, of course, he's being a detective in it, which, of course, is something I love. And looking into this, I guess, urban legend of the Court of Owls.
Yes.
And we're not going to get too much into that yet. We're going to get into that in a second. But he looks into that, and it's always been this urban legend thing that he's kind of pushed to the side. It's like, it's just a tale, no big deal. This is my city. I'm obviously...
Can we talk about yet when he first did it? Or is that...
Let's save that for the once we jump into... Is that
technically spoiling anything?
Once we jump into that. So it's a great story. It introduces, the Court of Owls, and it does a really phenomenal job. And I actually had the privilege of, before this came out, the local comic book store in our area actually did like a Skype interview with him where we got to sit there and ask him questions. And I know that one of the questions we were asking was, well, who's the villain? He goes, it's an older villain. And people were throwing out random Golden Age and Silver Age villains. He goes, no, an older villain. I'll get into that discussion in the spoiler, but I'm just saying that because we heard that before the first issues came out. And like I said, I was just amazed with it. And it started off an amazing run by them. So highly recommend reading this. If you're a Batman fan, don't worry about, I'm not up to date on anything. It will give you a crash course on what you need to know.
Definitely.
Because, Ellie, I'm more knowledgeable on Batman comics and the continuity. Did you have any issue picking this up and reading it?
No, I did not. I love Batman. I've always loved Batman, but like you said, I've never read a lot of the, actual comic book series of Batman. And so I was able to just read it and dive right on in, and it took no time at all to get through it. So it was very smooth. It went really well. And
not to be mean to Ellie or anything, but she normally does ask me stuff when she's reading certain graphic novels. She'll be like, hey, I got a question about this character or about this one.
I didn't need that in this.
Never was asked that about it. So it does a good job for... As I'm just pointing out, Ellie is not a new reader to comics, but is not very versed in everything Batman. Right. So this was definitely a good point to show that somebody who is not versed was able to pick this up and have no issue getting into it. If you just want
a good Batman story,
it definitely did the job. All right, gloves are coming off. We're going to talk about more in-depth stuff now. So if you do not want to hear any more, like I said,
read it and then come back and listen to this part of the podcast.
Exactly. Go listen to our Star Wars one. Yes. Go read it.
Got other ones you can listen to in the meantime.
So exactly. All right. Gloves are off. Spoiler time. Let's get started with how it opens.
Okay.
So it opens with an insurrection at Arkham Asylum.
Yeah. And it has an interesting pair up.
Yeah, Batman's there trying to stop it. You see a lot of his enemies. Riddler, Professor Pig,
the classics.
Yes, and then he starts fighting them, and who comes up?
Who is he fighting with?
Well, who comes up to help him? The Joker's helping him. The Joker and him are teaming up. Fighting.
Which what's funny? It made me think of the new Telltale game.
Oh,
which
yes.
I won't say anything else in case you haven't played it. But I'm just saying it kind of that made me think of that.
Well, reading this the first time, that really surprised me. I'm like, why is the Joker helping him? And they don't really reference it for a page or two more.
Don't worry. If I stopped at that page, I would have asked you questions, but I kept reading.
Exactly, because it made you want to keep reading. This is a great job by the writer to just keep you wanting to keep going with it. So he has a conversation with Gordon. We're not going to go through everything step by step. It's just the lead up to... It shows him sitting in the Batcave. It has him sitting in the Batcave, and all of a sudden you see the Joker again, and he makes a quip about, I always imagined that you sat in here and were brooding.
And I'm going to say I was freaked out.
Yeah,
I
'cause
was
it's like,
like,
why-
what the crap is Joker doing in there?
So think about this. This is volume 1, issue
What?
1, and it's like, why is the Joker teamed up with them?
And
Like,
it's
what's going
crazy.
on? And after the Flashpoint and everything got mixed up,
Yeah.
you're kind of wondering what is going on. Batman makes a quip back to him about, I'm actually testing out something. He has this like computer system that's.
Yeah, and he's acting like everything's normal. It's all good.
And then he continues to talk to the Joker, and then he goes, "Dick, you can take off the mask now."
And then you're like, oh.
So Dick Grayson disguised himself as the Joker to
Yes.
infiltrate Arkham, and
I thought that was so
so
clever.
it was a great job because
Yes.
it caught readers that are used to, I've seen everything I can out of Batman
Right.
off guard.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But trust me, that's not the biggest thing that catches you off guard. So continuing from there, Bruce is having a party, and you get to introduce the Bat family that's around at that point. So you get, of course, Nightwing's there, so Dick Grayson's there. You got Red Robin, Tim Drake, and then you got his son Damian all there. The only one that isn't there out of the Bat family direct is Jason Todd, who's of course the Red Hood, but he's off gallivanting other places, and Barbara Gordon isn't there. And Batwing, actually, I forgot he's briefly shown. So you have him introducing, a whole renovation to the city, being Bruce Wayne about stuff.
Right.
And it moves on from there to where he has to investigate. He moves on from there and just sort of says that he's going to help, redesign the city skyline. And then it goes to him being Batman and investigating a murder. All right, so he basically goes and joins up with Harvey Bullock, who's investigating a murder where there's been little knives used that have owls on them. And he comes across a message for Bruce Wayne that says, Bruce Wayne will die tomorrow. So he got...
And they found this body, and they realized this body's been dead for a little while.
Yeah.
So they were like, does that mean tomorrow, or is tomorrow already passed? Like, when is tomorrow?
But this gets him started on his investigation into
Yes.
what's going on, and the Court of, because the Court of Owls are just sort of a fairy tale. Mm-hmm. There's something that, he doesn't believe too much in and doesn't put too much stock in.
Because the reason why is because he had kind of researched into them before.
When his parents were murdered.
Yes, so a long time ago when he was a little boy.
And like I said, it's just this tale that he doesn't really put too much stock in. And I just want to point out, I'm going to jump ahead real quick, but not to spoil anything. There's no major villains in this, like established villains. There's no, it's just at the beginning when they're in Arkham, but there's no like the Joker's involved or the Scarecrow's involved. It's
Right.
straight up this organization from here on out. So he does some investigating, and basically it turns out that they're real and that they've been sort of running stuff in the background the whole time, which I think is interesting because when I was sitting there and listening to, the interview with him, he said that it's an old villain. I don't think he meant as in one that's established. I think he meant as in one that's been around for a long time. And he put it in the universe to where it didn't feel like someone was just shoving in some continuity.
Right.
Like, let's fix a continuity error. No, this was put in there, in my opinion, very well and very...
Well, this group obviously was around before any of those villains.
Exactly. And it was something to where it felt like that this was believable to me. When I was reading this, I didn't stop and go, oh, they're shoehorning something in.
Right.
I kept reading because I'm like, so wait, you're telling me that Batman, who's, basically runs that city and knows almost everything that's going on, didn't know about these guys?
Right.
And after...
Well, and it's because it's generations.
Yes.
Like they talk about, great grandfathers and all that kind of stuff. So it's generations ago.
Well, they send out one of their their super soldier.
Right. Talon.
A Talon to
Yes.
try to off Bruce Wayne. And that sort of doesn't go the way it's planned. He somehow, I'm trying to remember right now. I don't know. I'm blanking. Basically, they both are falling out of a window, and
Yes.
Bruce Wayne and him are falling out of a window after he's attempted to be murdered. If they attempt to murder him,
And well, when they're falling,
Bruce remembers where Gargoyle is, like,
Well,
from
one
memory.
of the guardians is what he
Yes.
refers to them as, the 13th guardian.
And he's once again showing how knowledgeable and, Batman, Batman always has a plan and was able to catch himself while the Talon plummets to the ground. Well, while they're taking the body to the hospital, it isn't dead.
Right.
So the Talon wakes up, offs everybody in the ambulance, gets out and goes about his business to continue on while Batman's still investigating, what's going on.
Right.
So he does more investigating, finds a few of the Talon hideouts. There's some stuff going on with Dick Grayson's DNA and stuff like that, but I'm just kind of briefing over that, unless you think it's super important to it, to where they thought that Dick had something to do with possibly trying to murder Bruce.
I mean, are you talking about how he was possibly going to be a Talon?
We'll get to that. I'm talking about
Okay.
there was some DNA of his found on the body. So
Oh, because of the.
yeah.
I mean, the only reason you can briefly mention that is just because it establishes that they've been around for a while.
It's building suspense too.
Yes.
It's building this. Does Dick have something to do with this?
Right.
So I mean, that's there. Like I said, in the grand story, in my opinion, it doesn't really play in too much.
Just really quick, it's just one of Dick's old relatives was a Talon.
I was gonna get to that point. I was just talking about that. Yeah. So Batman's doing some more investigating, and one of the Talons basically captures him. And apparently, there's a giant maze
Yes.
that the Court of Owls has that they
The
toss.
labyrinth.
Yeah, that they toss Batman in to basically, have him in there, and he's in there for over a week.
Yes, 8 days is what they reference.
Yeah, because it shows the Bat family, trying to help, trying to, pick up the pieces since he's been gone.
And I really like, I don't know if you were going to mention or not, but I really do like the way they kind of use the light, the bat signal,
Yeah.
as a symbol and a beacon for hope for the city. Like, even though most people have kind of, oh, he's not coming, why do you keep, for Gordon,
Yeah,
they
I
ask
mean,
Gordon.
the criminals and everything don't know that he's not coming. But
Right. And Gordon, he keeps it up there for everybody. I thought
yeah,
that
and
was
it
kinda
shows
neat.
like Catwoman. It shows
it shows
Batgirl. It
different
shows like a
people.
ton of people, all doing what they can to try to pick up the slack since
while he's gone.
while he's missing.
Yeah, and they don't know where he is.
So while he's in this maze, they do a great job writing in the art on this of him basically breaking.
Oh,
They
yeah.
mentally completely almost break him. So they send a Talon in to finish him off, and he actually puts up a pretty good fight. He gets stabbed. I mean, Batman does a lot. I mean, gets a lot, like gets stabbed, does a lot of stuff. But this is where they come to basically off their greatest enemies. So it does a great job of, because like the comic, if you're reading it, the pictures are upside down at one point. Like
Yes.
it makes, like, they did a great job not only writing it crazy, but the artist and the way the comic setup is looking crazy. So not
Well, it's
only
very disorienting.
yes,
You're
which is
just like,
how, of course,
you're turning your
he
head.
feels when he's in there. So they did a great job
It
with
was
that.
really cool. I thought that I don't ever remembering reading a book where they actually took the material itself and did it sideways, turns it upside down. I was kind of like, and it kind of put me in that mindset.
Exactly.
So I thought
that was
really
a great
cool.
job.
Yes.
So he gets out. He basically blows a hole in the floor and
Yes.
escapes. He also he escapes with one of the Talon's bodies too.
Well, they throw the Talon
Well,
in there, but yes,
He
ends
has
up
a
getting
body
it.
with
Yes.
him, which is kind of important because it's revealed later that, I mean, he freaks out when he sees it in the Batcave because Alfred, of course, helps him. And he's examining it, and he finds out that it's, as you said earlier, it's Dick Grayson's great-grandfather. Also, on another note of, showing how long these people have been around, Alan Wayne was killed by them.
Yes.
So that's once again, and that's Bruce's like great-great-great-grandfather. So once again, showing that these people have been around for a while and kind of running things from behind the scenes. And like I said, I know I've emphasized this earlier, but it's just really cool to have like what seems like an established characters that we just haven't seen, and not even the greatest detective has seen. So I think that was cool to, have Batman be kind of vulnerable in that situation in the maze to where he kind of was losing it.
Yeah, no, it was really interesting.
Because you don't see that side of Batman. He's always, he's
calm,
he has,
collected.
Alloway spray to where he can spray that and make the owl. It's just he has a plan
Shark
for
repellent.
Yeah, he has a plan for everything. I mean, he still had plans, but he was not in the best shape.
Right.
So from there, the Court of Owls. Well, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. You did mention the whole thing about apparently Dick was supposed to be a Nightwing was supposed to be a Talon. They were. Before Bruce got him, he was apparently being prepped to be one. Mm-hmm. So, because they took people from the circus and stuff like that, people who are naturally
athletic,
acrobatic, very talented individuals, and that's how they make them Talons. And they basically make them nigh immortal because of the serums and stuff they pump into them, but they're basically kind of slaves too. Mm-hmm. So, moving on from there, the Court of Owls decides that it's time for them to basically
take back the city.
So they send a ton of the Talons to Wayne Manor, which I'm going to tell you now that's not a good decision. But a cool thing is this. This was one of the first big crossover events done in New 52 where it involved a lot of the Bat family. It had the Nightwing title, Batgirl title, all the other titles involved, this Night of the Owls thing. So we're not going to get into all those off stories. It was just a cool, it was showing what everyone else was doing. We're once again keeping focused on Bruce, who basically has to fight him off in the mansion.
Right.
And everything. And we get to see the Bat armor.
That was intense.
Which I don't want to spoil anything, but that's not the last Bat armor you'll see in this run by Scott Snyder. And the other one that they have is awesome, but this one's cool too.
Well, all I can keep remembering is that page where it's just him bursting through the door.
Where he's like, get out of my mansion.
Yes, it was amazing. I thought that was really cool.
I mean, the armor doesn't last too long. I mean, it puts up a good fight, but he basically finally gets them out and then decides to take the fight sort of to them at that point.
Mm-hmm. Well, do we want to talk about how he dismantles basically the Talons as far as the ones that are in the mansion itself?
Go for it. Bats.
Well, there are bats, yes. But because of the serum that's in the bodies of the Talons.
He sprays them with Town-Away spray.
Oh, that's too easy.
Darn it.
They're susceptible to extreme cold. Extreme cold. So they turn down the cold in sub-zero. I don't remember exactly what the temperature is, but it kind of puts them in a comatose state. Mm-hmm. So that's the main reason how he kind of gets them. But he's got his partner in crime, Alfred.
Yes.
That's sending out the signals to all the other Bat family to try to save any city officials that are still left because
they're going around offing officials. Right. So you see, it's not just going after Batman.
Well, I think they did that to distract Batman so that he couldn't get out there and try to help. But it was like a strategic attack where they were all out there at one time trying to take everybody out.
So at this point, we're kind of almost moved into completely to the Volume 2.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So if you want to start us off with what happens in Volume 2, since I was...
Well, the beginning of Volume 2 is basically kind of what we were talking about with where they're sending people out to all the different officials. Mm-hmm. And, it kind of shows little clips of the different people helping to save as many as they can.
Yeah.
But a lot of them were already...
Offed.
Yes. So you kind of have that part of it.
He's getting them all out of the, Bat Cave, uses the dinosaur to stomp on a few of them, which is interesting because everyone knows there's the giant dinosaur that's why is that in there? And apparently it's to step on Talons.
That's right. You never know when you're going to need a dinosaur.
So he gets the Batmobile and leaves to try to help, save some of the officials, one of them being character which we should have mentioned earlier, but the Lincoln character shows up there, finds him stabbed, and he says, I got a message for Bruce Wayne. I guess we presume he dies.
Yes. Oh, yes, he dies.
So then Bruce Wayne mauls it. So then basically, we're not going to give you everything. 'Cause there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of backstory here. But basically, it tells him to follow go further down the rabbit hole.
Yes.
And turns out he was working for the Court of Owls and basically offed a ton of them that night too. The Lincoln character.
Lincoln March.
The reason I'm saying it that way is because he meets up with him later and finds out that he's actually evil. Bum, bum, bum. Not just evil, but his evil brother. Bum, bum, bum. Well, maybe.
Wait, what?
Maybe.
He claims to be Thomas Wayne Jr.
I don't think it ever really definitively says that he is or not.
Correct. It does not really say that he is or that he isn't. It kind of is just,
At least in what we have read through.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember.
Well, we'll just say as of this point.
As of this point of what we have instructed you guys to read with us, it does not definitively say. It's a very left up in the air thing.
Yes.
So him and Batman, I keep on saying that for some reason, I don't know why, have an all-out fight with each other where he's jetting around and just an all-out slobber knocker fest while they're basically arguing with each other the whole time, kind of like siblings would.
Yes.
Dun dun dun.
True that.
And how does everything wrap up, Ellie?
So, basically they go back and forth, and this Lincoln / Thomas guy,
Junior.
Sorry, yes, Junior. He basically says that Batman's had his time, and it's his time now to have the city. He tries to kill Batman and throw him in the plane engine.
Because his little suit he can fly with his suit.
Yes. Well, he grabs Batman and takes him up into the air, and
tries to chuck him into a plane engine that's flying over Gotham.
Because Batman put comics. a little bomb on him that went off.
I just want to know where he keeps all those.
It's in the belt, the Batman.
No,
belt.
but he keeps them up his sleeves too.
His utility belt has everything.
Apparently.
And, Batman always has a plan, like we've mentioned earlier. And there's an explosion. And then as Batman he's basically falling. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of thinking that this is it. And he goes through
basically the Bat bomb,
and they
falls
start
back to the city,
falling down, and Batman kind of uses his bat rope, and he falls into the building, and then
a building,
and then the guy comes again, Thomas / whatever we want to call
Lincoln.
him.
/ Super Owl.
Yes, yes, Super Owl. And he basically holds Batman and is like, he just threw a sticky bomb type thing.
He's throwing a few of them out.
Yeah.
Super Owl Thomas is throwing sticky bombs because he's basically confident in I'm just gonna end this now.
And he's thinking, Batman's not gonna come back, but since he has the stuff in his blood, his serum, that he'll
come back.
He'll come back, so he'll live through this eventually. So he's holding on to Batman because he's like, I'm gonna hold you here and make sure that you're going down when this thing explodes. And then Batman, as always, does some eye gouging. A little bit of nasty eye stuff, and that kind of throws the owl guy off of his guard.
Yeah.
And he kind of gets away in that aspect. But the mysterious thing is, of course, after everything's said and done, and they go back to the building,
they couldn't find the body.
They could not find the body, no bones, no nothing. So like this guy completely just vanished. Yes. And then I love the way it goes back, like days later, weeks later, and then him and Dick have a nice heart-to-heart talk.
There's a lot of those in Snyder's run in the beginning, if I remember correctly, because this is followed up by the Death of the Family, which is a very good storyline, but that's something possibly for another day. So overall, let's just have a discussion since we've kind of gone over the bullet points of this story. I mean, went into a little bit of detail on certain items, but I guess the bullet points are this. It does a great job of introducing a lot of new people to Batman, introducing a villain or villain syndicate that we just were never aware of before. So that's definitely interesting. And finally, I mean, do you think they're going to bring a lot of the aspects of this to the TV show, since that's why we...
I mean, I'm curious about the one part, because we didn't really mention too much about it because it's not that big of a thing, but, you know, they do mention the Whisper Gang in the Court of Owls comic book, and they do mention that in the TV show.
Yeah.
And, you know, they do set up the Court of Owls as this thing that's been around for generations, and they kind of do that in the TV show. My curious thing is right after the kind of the end of the story, when he has the heart-to-heart with Dick, they do go into several pages of a setup with Alfred's father and how he kind of got a introduction of the Court of Owls and warned Alfred to never come here, and he wanted him to stay as far away of this cursed place as possible. So I'm kind of curious if they're gonna
implement that.
Yeah, because Alfred's a pretty big thing in the Gotham TV series, so I'm curious if they're gonna continue with that or not. But
all right, so I guess to sum it up, great first entry into a very impressive run. I mean, I'm still reading through some of it, like the later stuff myself, and it is, they just do such an amazing job. They have a great fight with Batman versus the entire Justice League later on. There's a great storyline involving the Joker. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run on this was amazing.
Yeah, and me being someone that's not as familiar with Batman stuff,
it was easy to pick up and read.
I definitely want to continue and read more.
And I know that they've done the whole new Rebirth, but if you want a good storyline to pick up, this would definitely be it.
Yeah, I love it.
So definitely, like I said, great read. So with that, we're going to move on to a few quick shout outs to some stuff, and then we're going to wrap things up here.
Okay.
So if you're tuning back in now, of course, we're done discussing it. So, yay. But I just want to give, a few quick shout outs. Like I said earlier, definitely giving some shout outs to the Brokebot Mountain podcast. They of course gave us the thing earlier, and they've been a great help to us.
Yeah.
Rumor Flies is supposed to be coming back. I think they're probably going to have a new episode the same day this one's out, so definitely check them out. They're a great group of guys, discuss, where urban legends and rumors and stuff like that came from, old wives' tales, just kind of giving you the lowdown, doing the research so you don't have to. Like I said, I can't wait to see what they do this year, so definitely check them out. There will be links to all these down below. And definitely check out the Down the Hall podcast. They recently, aside from the Pixar episode, they did one where they did the Edge of 17 movie.
Oh, okay.
And they actually got to interview one of the actors from it. So that was really cool. So they did the review, and then they did the interview with the actors. So that was actually really cool. So check them out. The link will of course be down below. I'm not the link, sorry. Their Twitter thing will be down below, and they post constantly about that stuff. All of them do. So we'll have those links to their Twitter down below. So check those out. And like I said, we can't thank you guys enough for all the help you gave us with the Star Wars episode. We're very excited about that. And we just, like I said, I love Batman. Ellie, I'm trying to get convinced to read some more of the Scott Snyder run. So I think I got her started on it by doing this.
You got your hooks in me.
So with that, I guess we're going to tell them the best ways to get a hold of us.
Okay.
And those would be...
Well, you can see us on Twitter at Zeng This.
And you can also find us on Facebook, Zeng This.
Yeah.
You can also find us on SoundCloud, of course, Zeng This, iTunes, Stitcher, Tuned In now, Google Play. So we've got a few things out there.
And we've been saying this for a while, but we really do mean it. We're going to start doing some more stuff on our Instagram, too.
We're getting there. We're getting there. So another great way to get a hold of us is, of course, the Instagram is at Zeng This Podcast. Mm-hmm. Our email is zengthis@gmail.com. And our Patreon, and if you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/zengthis.
Right.
Final little quick note. If you are from our hometown area, which is in Virginia, and if you know where that is, then we just want to give a quick shout out to 8-Bit Oasis, which is a little gaming store in the town.
Yeah.
Definitely go check them out. They have, current gen games. They have
And
older
old stuff too.
Yes. So if you want to get in on the RPG discussion and get some great games, head over there to 8-Bit Oasis.
And they also have board games, and so not just
cards as well. So
Yep.
they have a wide range of gaming stuff. So definitely go check them out. We just wanted to give a quick shout out to them because they're going to be helping us hopefully very shortly in the future with some stuff. So we just want to give a shout out and thanks them and send some people their way. So go check out 8-Bit Oasis.
Yeah.
So with that, I guess it's time for us to say, DJ Golden Boy, play us out.